Hey,
Hey,
you ready for this?
I think so. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it
Hey,
is.
we're in a different place now, though.
We are. You're in my office.
Look at all those books on the back shelf.
Yeah, we got a lot of books to read.
Are we going to read all of them?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
We'll read some of them.
Hey, Pastor Andy, it's been a really snowy week this week.
It has been. But you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for
Stories with Reginald! I love this time.
Yeah, me too. Well, welcome to my office. It's pretty nice that you're in here.
Yeah, you have lots of books, and you have a desk over there with lots of papers on it.
Right, exactly.
It makes you look really busy.
Yes, doesn't it? I got a big fancy chair back there.
Yep, and I'm sure there's a sermon back there somewhere.
Yeah, there's a few sermons back there too.
Hmm.
You know where most of my sermons are?
In your head.
Right here.
Right up there.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
You know, if you wanted to build a tree fort, right?
Okay.
They're pretty fun to play in.
Yeah, I love tree forts.
What's the first thing you need to do?
I'm not sure.
You probably should plant the tree.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
Right.
Hey, it's been snowing a lot this week. Pastor Andy?
Yeah, it's still snowing right now.
It is snowing. So, how do penguins build their homes?
How do penguins build their homes? I don't, with something with ice.
Igloos it together. Get it? Igloo? Igloos it together.
Yeah. He glues it, right.
Mm-hmm.
Got any more jokes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What happens when something white falls past the window outside of your classroom? You know what time it means? It means it's snow and tell time.
I get it. Snow and tell.
Snow and tell.
Right. So it has been pretty cold out here. And if you remember last week, we started this book called The Rag Coat. It's written by Lauren Mills. But we didn't finish it. It was a little bit longer.
It was a little longer. And it was kind of an interesting story.
Yeah, do you remember how it started off?
Well, it was one of those things where there were some ladies together and they were making a quilt.
Yeah, they were making a quilt.
Like a big blanket made out of a whole bunch of different pieces of material.
And there was a little girl who wanted to go to school, but she didn't go to school because
she didn't have a coat.
She didn't have a coat. And then those ladies who were quilting, what did they promise to do?
What? They get her a coat.
To make her a coat.
That's right.
They were going to use all the scraps from their quilting and they were going to make her a coat. And the girl started going to school, right?
That's right. And she knew exactly what she was going to show everybody on their show and tell day.
Right, exactly. So, let's finish reading our book today.
And the name of the book was Rag Coat, right?
Yeah, The Rag Coat.
The Rag Coat.
Right. It says, each day I hurried home to see my coat. It was looking like colors of the fall days, the yellow golds, the birch leaves, the silvery grays, the purples of the sky, the deep greens, the browns of the pines, and the rusty reds of chimney bricks. All the colors Papa would have chosen. I decided to put a piece of his work jacket in there just because it just seemed right.
Oh, that's a colorful coat.
It sure is. The mothers worked as quickly as they could, but the cold weather was quicker. At recess, Sochi asked me why I didn't wear a coat. I told her I couldn't jump rope as well. With one on. Jumping a lot kept me warm. I was fast becoming the best jump roper in the school. Last night, but the night before, 24 robbers came knocking at our door. What?
What?
Robbers?
Wow.
That was my favorite rope tune. One night, when Mama looked sad, I told her things couldn't be worse. We could have 24 robbers knocking at our door, she said. Now, what on earth would they want us for, said Mama.
Oh, it's like the jump rope song. 24 robbers knocking at the door.
Right.
I got it.
She laughed then, but I was most serious. Finally, my coat was done. It was beautiful, and the quilting mothers had finished it in time for her sharing day.
Oh, that's right. That's like show and tell.
Right. And there she is with her coat of all kinds of colors. That morning, I walked to school looking down at all the different colored pieces of cloth in my coat. All the stories the quilting mothers had told me about the rags and who they belonged to. I knew by heart I had ended up choosing the most worn pieces for my coat because the best stories went with them. I was still looking down and repeating each story to myself when I bumped into Kyle outside the schoolyard. "Hey, rag coat," he said, with all the others laughing. Before I knew it, Sochi, Lottie, and Kyle were dancing around me singing, "Rag coat, rag coat."
Oh, they were making fun of her?
It's not really
Oh,
nice.
but the coat's really nice, though. It has lots of stories.
I know it does. Lottie said, "Look, it's even dirty with soot." And she poked her finger into my papa's cloth. Then Sochi said, "Hey, Minna, you are better off with no coat than with that old ragged thing." "Maybe you're right," I yelled. "If I had no coat, then I never would have to come to school." I broke through their circle and ran away from them, far into the woods.
Oh, that would make me feel sad.
Yeah, look at her sad sitting on the log.
Oh, yeah.
I found an old log and sat on it for a long time, too angry to cry, just stared across the fields Papa used to gaze at. "Oh, Papa, I wish you were here," I said, and then I couldn't help but cry. I cried for Papa, and I cried for the quilting mothers who had wasted their time. I was crying so hard, I rocked that old log. Then all at once I stopped because I felt something warm and familiar. The feed bag inside my coat made me feel like Papa's arms were around me again. I could almost hear him saying, "Minna, people only need people and nothing else. Don't you forget that." I jumped off the log, I wiped the tears from my cheeks, and I brushed the leaves off my coat. "I won't forget it, Papa," I said, and I headed back to school.
Good for her.
Good for her. Here she is walking into school with her rag coat.
Yeah, there are some times when I don't want to do something, but it's the right thing to do, so she went back to school.
She went back to school because it was the right thing to do. When I walked into the schoolroom, Mrs. Campbell looked up, surprised. "Why, Minna," she said, "I was told you ran home sick." Sochi jumped up, her face all red. "It's not true, Mrs. Campbell," she blurted out. "We lied to you. Minna left because we made fun of her old coat." I'll tell her, Sochi, I said. "It's not an old coat, it's a new coat." "But it's just a bunch of old rags," said Lottie. "It is not just a bunch of old rags," I said. "My coat is full of stories about everyone here." They all looked at me real puzzled. "You don't see? These are all your rags." They still seemed puzzled, so I showed them. "Look, Shane, here is that blanket of yours that your mama's sister gave her the night you were born. The midwife said you wouldn't live but 3 days because you were so small, but your mama wrapped you up tight in that blanket and put you in a little box by the wood stove. And your papa kept the fire all night for 3 weeks. Of course, you lived all right," I said, looking up at Shane. Shane was big, and you hung on that blanket of yours until it was nothing but shreds.
Oh, that's a good story.
Yeah, here she is again with all the kids coming around her. "My blanket," he whispered. "I thought I'd never see it again." He looked at the old rag like he wanted to touch it. Then the others began discovering their old favorite things and crowded around me. They each wanted their story told, and I remembered every single one. I even showed a piece of the old woolen jacket Sochi had left her calf wear when it was sick. Lottie's rag was a faded piece from an old fancy dress her aunt from New York had sent her for her 7th birthday. And Kyle had a scrap from his pants that he always wore when he went fishing with his grandpa. Sochi said, "Minna, I'm sure I'm sorry we ever said anything bad about your coat." "Me too," I heard others murmur. "I wouldn't blame you if you didn't let us touch it," Lottie said. "I wouldn't blame you if you didn't want to be our friend at all," Kyle said. "Friends share," I said, and I let them each touch their rag. Then I showed them the feed sack inside my coat and told them how it made me feel my papa's arms again. Shane put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Minna, I bet you got the warmest coat in the school." "Well, it took a whole lot of people to make it warm," I told them, and we all laughed. The end. There she's going home with her coat.
Oh, that was a great story, Pastor Andy.
I liked it too, yeah, because her coat, wasn't expensive, but it was made with love, and it told stories of every one of her friends and everyone in her town.
Oh, I kind of want a coat like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the great part about it. They just didn't understand that their story was part of her story, and her story was part of their story, and then that was just a beautiful thing. And then they made the coat for her, and she stayed warm, and she told the stories of their lives.
Right. Sometimes we do things that, and we or perhaps make fun of people, or we poke things that we just don't understand.
That's right.
But when we do understand them, when we ask questions, and when we get to know who people are, well, then we're just sharing God's love with them.
That's really important.
Pretty cool, huh?
Learn who they are, and then share God's love with them.
Yep.
That seems pretty simple to me.
Yep. Even when the coat may look funny, we know it's more than the way it looks. It's the way it feels. It's the way it warms people's hearts.
Aw, that's great.
Cool.
Well, Pastor Andy, thanks for inviting me into your office.
Yeah, you're always welcome in here.
And all the books back there.
Yep.
Maybe we'll find another one sometime.
Yeah, you can borrow any one you want.
They look pretty heavy, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, hey, kids. Maybe we should sing our prayer song, Pastor Andy.
I think we should sing our prayer song, too.
All right. You know it.
Ready?
It's called Sanctuary. Here we go.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
That was nice.
That was nice. So, kids, if you have any books you want me to read, I'll read them. Otherwise, you might have to listen to some of these.
And there's a 392-page book back there.
No pictures.
No pictures.
That'd be horrible.
Yep.
All right, remember, one thing you always need to remember. Be a blessing. All right.
See you, kids.
Bye-bye.